So I wanted to give just a few words of warning when doing a iPad 2 screen repair. First thing is, if definitely the reason you're taking this apart is because the glass is just shattered somewhere. In all the videos that you'll see online, they very easily start prying around the edges. The first they heat it up, and then they pry around the edges, and it comes off real nice and smooth. And on the left-hand side here, you can see the connectors for where the screen connects. The real thing of this video, I'm not trying to tell you how to do the iPad repair. I just want to tell you some things that you should probably be aware of and just kind of be mindful of. One, there's a bezel, a little plastic white bezel around the outside, which is almost definitely going to be ruined when you're prying on this screen to get it out. So this piece, you're definitely going to have to buy a bezel. I don't really see how you're not going to need to buy a bezel, unless you don't mind your glass not sitting in there perfectly and not having that really nice, clean, crisp edge. I had to buy a new one of those. Also, let me tell you something else. When you're scratching off this glass, because there's this really heavy adhesive around all the edges, it's actually very difficult to not destroy the Wi-Fi antenna, which is right here. This is where the dot connector is, so you can see the Wi-Fi antenna is right here. It actually has tape that glues to the screen. I think it's a design flaw as far as taking it apart, but you know, these things really weren't meant for us to get into them. And then if you work your way up the side, this is where the power button is, and then your volume rocker and your mute switch. If you can see, I don't know if the lighting is going to allow, but roughly right there, you can kind of see that that's poking up. That is a ribbon cable, very, very thin. Also, will be destroyed when you're scraping along this edge here. So you're going to need the new volume rocker and power button ribbon cable, most likely, unless you're just really good and for whatever reason this part of the screen is not cracked and this lifts off with relative ease. But for me, I'm scraping along the edge here to get all this glass off, and the glass has hit me in the face. I definitely recommend wearing goggles of some kind, because this will definitely start to just kind of explode as you're scraping it off with whatever you're using. Additionally, the camera up here, be very careful when working with, you know, of course, across the top here. If you have, this is obviously the Wi-Fi only. If you have the 3G antenna, I'm not sure what that would be like on the inside, but it's sort of a mess if you know, if you mess up any of these cameras. I also messed up this camera when I replaced this power button. It has a very, very weak solder on this pressure point. iFixit.com has all the pictures and that sort of thing. Like I said, this is not a how-to, this is just some things to look out for. So what do I recommend? I recommend, one, wear your goggles when you're taking this thing apart. It's just, glass is going to be everywhere. Two, I suggest that not only do you buy a screen, but you buy the white bezel, the Wi-Fi antenna, and the power ribbon cable. Total, you know, you're looking at an additional $15 to your project. And it's just better to go ahead and get it now as opposed to waiting. And also the glue strips that you buy online, go ahead and get a few, because the strips are designed to fit specifically around this in certain parts, but I find that you don't have necessarily enough glue strips, so you can kind of piece together a few with those little glue strips kits. They're like $3, and I paid $5 and I got 5 of them, so $1 each, and that way I'd have enough glue all the way around. Also, I will make one other note. I don't think it's mentioned in any of the tutorials that I saw, but here at the bottom, these two little sockets here. This is the ribbon cable for your touchscreen, the glass part. There on the back end, of course, you can't see. Maybe if I kind of touch it, you can kind of see how that kind of flickers. That's a lock, and they're pressed down. You need to get a little non-marring or plastic tool or something and just kind of flick it up there at the end, and then do that on both sides, and then you can slide this out really easily, as opposed to the way I did it, which I just pulled until it came out. Luckily, I was using that was on the old broken screen. If you're very careful, you will not have to replace these parts, but most likely you will. There's on iFixit, they show you how to do it. You have to unscrew these 3 little screws, and this little rubber piece comes off. That's the antenna. and there's a cable that runs down underneath, and it goes underneath this main logic board here. You'll have to take those screws apart and pop the logic board off, and then unseat the wireless antenna. It's pretty easy. You can, like I said, iFixit has it. But yeah, those are just some of the words of caution that I would use when taking this apart. Again, you know, obviously I have to say I'm not responsible for anything that you do or don't do to your iPad if you take it apart, but I just wanted to put this out there. These are some of the problems that I ran into when replacing this screen. Other than that, everything else has gone very smoothly. So thanks for watching, and of course if you have any questions, just let me know. Thanks.